Today we are talking about the third module of the 5 that we have for program health. And I wanted to do 3 things today. Start with an overview, always begin with the why, then spend a little bit of time on the where, walking us through the process of getting into Watermark and how to find the program health process. And then 3 is where to go to get the data that might be most useful in telling your stories about completion. So those are the 3 pieces that I wanted to go through today. Why, where, what, should we call the last one what or how? The information that I think the college provides in a couple of different ways. And Kathy and Stephanie, for your benefit, I also wanted to share with you and those watching on the recording the plug-in report that has some information on credits per program of students enrolled that might be helpful or useful when we talk about completion. So Kathy, as usual, you know me. Stephanie, you're familiar. Please interrupt and pause if you would either like me to pick up my pace or skip over something, or with questions. I am completely welcome to being interrupted and ask questions. So in my slides, again, I am assuming you can see my PowerPoint slides. I'm not entering presenter view at this point, just sharing the slides with you, but wanted to start with the purpose. Again, this is my very amateur attempt to tilt to be very apparent and transparent with the purpose. So again, reminder of the program health structure, how to begin data entry, practicing Watermark, and getting into the dashboards. That was what I said would be 2 and 3. Again, the bigger picture is how to use these steps in our overall storytelling process about our programs, opportunities to advocate for resources and advocate for student success, and then trying to apply this practice when we talk about values and purpose of college in general. Why do we do program health reform? Again, this is old news to Kathy and perhaps to Stephanie, but these are the 4 rationale points that I put forward to the audience, really to start with measuring the rigor, relevance, community transfer alignment of the academic programs in the portfolio. Things that faculty already do. To me, this is an opportunity to promote that, celebrate that, and do an honest review and an honest look at what we do. Evidence for strategic decision-making on program growth, sustainability, and yes, if we need to, reduce our portfolio if it's not meeting student needs or if we find out it's not really addressing community or transfer needs. This is the new method of storytelling that we are still leaning into, trying to balance both the quantitative, the data that we're looking at in the numbers, and the qualitative, the stories that we're telling. And then lastly, trying to maintain compliance with SACS. As you know, I don't lead with that, but that is one of the reasons we're doing this. Again, aligning that work with what we think the college priority on teaching and learning is, about making sure students are learning. Again, high quality and rigorous programs that are relevant, and that we want to focus on student transfer needs. I balance program health with the 2 other big asks that I have of department chairs and faculty, which is the more detailed dive into program learning when we do assessment of learning through our curriculum maps and our program learning outcomes. That's a big piece of this. And then the gen ed process as well, that we have embedded learning of the 6 core competencies that we think we care about. And I try to say that all of those overlap to some extent. I'll also try to monitor the chat. Oh, good. Yeah, we'll figure that out, Kathy, for sure. And because it's recorded, there is definite evidence that you and Stephanie were here. So we'll make sure that we get that set up. Today is student completion. So we spent time in September on enrollment, in October on retention, which was a bigger, heavier lift. There were a lot of pieces that we put into the retention telling story. This one is far simpler by comparison. So that's why I don't know if we'll need the full hour, but because Stephanie, you and Kathy are here, we could spend some time walking through your examples specifically if you're up to it, but we'll get there when we get there and make that decision accordingly. As a reminder, we do try to be transparent, again, in our how are we measuring the stories that we're telling. You can see 1, 2, and 3 are pretty built out in terms of how we're measuring where a program might belong if we put it into one of these categories. Grow, sustain, monitor, and examine, all of them are meant to spur additional conversations and discussions, right? The program heads have the opportunity, the department chairs have the opportunity to do the first bit of storytelling. I think based on the data and the evidence that I am looking at, our program should be grown, or our program should be basically kept the way it is, or maybe we're struggling and we need to focus on some things, or the program really is having a hard time. We can't recruit, we can't retain, we can't complete. The faculty are struggling. That's an examine category. So I want department chairs to have the ability to think about all of those categories when telling the stories, and that they will be scored on criteria. As you can see, we've got a big TBD in faculty. So I think the session that I have scheduled either in December or January, I will ideally bring some initial thoughts back to you all on how will we monitor and score programs based on their faculty engagement. The criteria that we're starting with are programs sufficiently staffed? Are faculty being given the opportunity to learn and grow? How are they engaged with the program? That's how we're evaluating programs. So those may be metrics that apply across all programs, but we'll examine those in turn. So that's my opening why section. I'll pause just in case Terry, who is here in person, or Kathy or Stephanie have any observations to that. Oh, Robin joined us too. Hey, Robin, I didn't see you in there. Thanks for coming along. Now, let's move into the where do we find this information? So I will start actually, let me back up. So this is me already in program health review. Let me back up to remind everybody when we are trying to find where Watermark lives on our college website. Remember, my easiest guidance is to, thanks Robin for letting us know, is to go to the college intranet homepage. And I recently learned that we are no longer the very bottom center link anymore. So I used to say, go to the very bottom of the intranet page. There's nothing below this additional links banner. And Watermark was in the center at the bottom, but now we got bumped by facilities after hours callback schedule. Maybe I can talk to the web designers about where we live. When you open this screen, depending on your role at the college, you may see course evaluation and surveys because you are assigned a role of either a department chair or you have already taught classes that have some course evaluation. So eventually every faculty member will see a course evaluations and surveys, but department chairs should see planning and self-study. I want everybody, for today's sake, to go into planning and self-study. Terry and I are working on a training for course evaluations and surveys that we will have out before December, before the end of the term. Then you land on your homepage, which isn't going to look anything like mine because I've got a whole lot of stuff in there. But you should see a program or two that you are responsible for. And you should have a few projects in progress that are part of your program you are responsible for leading. Today, I want to spend time in the 24-25 annual program health review link. So if you see it listed on the homepage in projects in progress, that's one way to get it. If your homepage opens to something like this and your program is already at the top, you'll have your program information and navigation on the left-hand side. You may have to scroll down a little bit to find the appropriate box. We're not talking about program assessment today. We are talking about program health today. Ideally, when you click on that, program health opens, and again, left navigation driven. Here are our modules. I say 5 modules with an opportunity to tell a summary at the end. Today's module is student completion, and there is only one prompt or question within student completion. And that question is, When reviewing how many students are completing the program, does the number of degrees or certificates earned align with your expectations? Big open-ended question there. You could answer that with a yes, I suppose, or a no, but then you would be prompted with a why or why not. Why does that meet your expectations? And if it does, this last question might not really be relevant. I am graduating the number of students that I expect to graduate. You could further answer the same one question, so I'm sort of cheating by dropping several questions into one prompt. But again, what might be done to improve student completion? Again, we want to start with your judgment, your sense of students are completing or they are not. They are taking a long time or they are not. This is your, again, storytelling opportunity to say what you judge to be the case with your completion for your program. Again, the upper right-hand corner of this page has a write narrative button. And when I click on that, oh, look at that, Terry's got it locked for editing.
Oh,
So
sorry.
Terry and I are in there together because we were both responsible for that program. But if Terry leaves that narrative, I guess I could preview. Oh, no, I can't even preview it, right?
Well, you should be all right now.
So let me refresh. That's an example of how you don't want people writing over each other's work. And that's the system working as intended. So you can see all that Terry was writing in there. There's a big blank narrative screen. So Terry was maybe just contemplating what to write. But this is where you would begin to tell your story. Completion rates meet my expectations. Because, so again, I'm going to save and exit because I've just started and I'm going to come back to it later. That's the second piece. So where do we go to find the tool that we're using to tell this story? I'll pause to see if there are any chat questions or any questions from our audience about how we found this or how we got there before we shift into the third section, which is what information are we going to go to look at to help us talk about completion for our programs that we're reviewing. I will take silence as agreement. So this is the source of data, and I will again show where I found this. This access to these dashboards is one of our sort of persisting issues to some extent, but I want the program head, I want the department chairs to feel comfortable in getting here. Of course, you have to be able to get here. If my screen switches to again show you the college intranet homepage, at the top of the intranet homepage is the college reports and dashboards tile. When I click on that tile, it sends me to the Office of Institutional Research homepage with a whole lot of stuff on the left-hand side. And for the sake of program health, I want department chairs to be comfortable in going to the academic program performance dashboard. And on that page, again, we're still on the college intranet, we're still within the IR site. There is an image of what one of the screens looks like, one of the tabs, and then a click here that will launch the login page that would take you to this screen. Again, your SAS login is not the same as your Reynolds login yet. We're hoping to get that resolved in the next few months, but for now, you need your login is your JSR0, first initial, letter X, last initial. So mine is JSR0TXM to log in, and then I have a separate password just for SAS dashboards. Once you are in, assuming you get through all of those steps, the dashboard will land you on one of the tabs, and you always go to the top of the dashboard for its title to make sure you're looking at the right thing. But this one has a lot of tabs. My update for today is that I am working with IR, Devora specifically, to create a dashboard that is just for this program health process. So when complete, and I'm hoping by the spring, it will have tabs across the top that are named for the modules in the Watermark program health structure. So we will have a module 1 on student enrollment with enrollment trends in this dashboard. So that will be the first thing that you see when you're tabbing across the top. And I will make sure there's plenty of training for that. But again, if you're familiar with this dashboard, it's going to be almost identical. Just, I think for my sake, for our sake, organized in a more logical fashion that will align with the modules as they're presented in Watermark. So when you're ready to tell your enrollment story, you go to the enrollment tabs. When you're ready to tell your completion story, in module 3, you'll go to the module 3 tab in the dashboard. So that is underway, which is, I hope, helpful. But for now, since we're not quite there yet, what I am asking people to do, and again, simple navigation on this dashboard is that if you scroll all the way to the right of the dashboard, there's a little arrow icon that lets you adjust the tabs that are available. And right now, the credentials earned tab is on the far right side of this dashboard. When we're complete, there will be fewer, and they will be easier, I hope, to find. But for now, we go to the far right, click on the credentials earned tab, and since Kathy is with us, let's pick one of the early childhood programs. And Kathy, I can't remember how we've organized these, so one of these would be.
So Stephanie's got early childhood now.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I forgot. So which one should we look at that would give us the most data? Is it this top one, early childhood development?
I would say do the CSC.
CSC. Thank you. Oops. Let's click the CSC. Just to give us some data to look at. Early childhood school age CSC.
No, that's the school age one. We've discontinued it.
That's right. Early childhood. Isn't it
The one that says early childhood education, I think, is the one we need.
this one right here? Yeah, we should fix those titles to make it easier on you all, easier on all of us. So thank you for that. So we are in the early childhood education program for credentials earned. So again, this is an over time credentials earned. So when you're telling the story, I would say we could probably limit our storytelling to the more recent past, right? I don't know that we need 7 years of history to really tell a story here. But we could look at any of the terms, of course, but why don't I just grab some of the recent springs, maybe 3 springs worth. Again, we can grab all of them, and this is where Stephanie, you or Kathy would say, no, we need to look at the falls too, because, or the summers too, because they tell a slightly different story. Usually summer grad numbers are lower, but let's go ahead and include those just to make it a little more interesting of a graph. And then this is you interpreting this information for us. Spring 23 seems like a really surprisingly productive year out of the trend of the other few springs. And maybe there's an obvious reason that you know that you graduated 6, 7, 8 more students than you normally do. And that's context that I don't know looking at this data. So the story I would think that might evolve from this is we've been pretty consistent. And I don't know, again, based on your knowledge, whether this is a relatively satisfactory number for you or not. That's you providing me or providing the college with that context to help interpret this data. So to me, the balance is not just regurgitating it, but adding that level of interest. So the 3 dots on the chart do allow us to save the image. I think I showed this before. If I do a save image, and then if I'm over in my storytelling, and if I'm writing a narrative here, and I wanted to add an image from the download that I just did, let's see if I can drop image or click. So my downloads, this was the snapshot that I just added. and I can put the image of my completion rates in my report, and then I don't have to jump back and forth, or I can say, based on this table, the following patterns are apparent to me, or something along those lines, right? Again, I'm not asking for anything incredibly complex or over the top. But what I'm trying to help say is that if you find something in the dashboard that would help you tell your story, feel free to copy the image and bring it over, but then do the interpretation of it, right? To say this, again, completion rates meet expectations because that's about the size of the cohorts that are going through the program. So it makes sense that we're graduating 16, 17, 18 per year. And I think that's a decent number. I don't know how that compares overall. The beauty of the dashboard, right, is that if we leave the semesters alone and we pick another similarly sized program, and again, I'm just totally guessing here. I don't know automotive technology, how many people graduate. So a lot fewer there, so that's probably not a good program to compare. But what the dashboard allows you to do is at least say, oh, well, from either exploration or from my general knowledge of the institution, I have a sense of the size of other programs, and I can just take a peek and see how others are doing in terms of their number of students completing. So the goal here is to use the information in this particular dashboard in credentials earned to tell a basic story about completion rates, completion of students. We don't have completion rates yet. That is a function that we are working on that I think IR has in the queue to actually provide a rate of the number of students who started, what percentage completed over 2 years, 3 years, et cetera. I want to evolve into that, but we're not quite there yet. The only other tab in the performance dashboard that might be of interest are these completion credits. So again, when you're telling a story about completion, and we'll go down again to look at early childhood education, we are pulling up the completion rates by starting cohort. So this is trying to get at the number of students who are earning credits, not quite at completion. So this isn't really a synonym for completing a program. This is an attempt to say, how are the students doing in terms of completing credits as they progress through a particular program? And we haven't really played around with this dashboard a lot, so I don't know how valuable this will be to you. I wanted to show it because I, again, assume that how the progress of students completing credits relates to their completion of the program, I think are a similar story, right? Some of it's matriculation, some of it's retention, but as we all know, you have to start with enrollment, you have to keep them, and then you have to get them to persist and graduate. So I guess I am showing you this as another place to just look when you're thinking about telling the completion story, if it's helpful, if it's interesting. I think the main source of data are the credentials earned. I think that's the place where you'll really know how many credentials have we been awarding as a program, as a college, as an institution, et cetera. This is where the more valuable story, I think, to be told is. But I also want to show you one other place. Again, these are all the places where data might be useful. In case those of you who are here have begun to play around with plug-in reports that make SIS data available in spreadsheets, I wanted to show you all this bit of data. Now, as a reminder, Min has provided lots of trainings on SAS and how to get data out of it. At the very top of my Excel workbook, there is a tab titled SAS. If you don't see that, that means that this feature, this function has not yet been installed on your instance of Excel on the college computer that you're using. So if it is not there, submit a ticket to Min and he'll get this installed for you. If it is there, if you click on SAS and come over to data, you will get a pop-up window that says view SAS data. And the very first thing I say to look at is this top row to see what the last bit of data that you obtained. To browse for more data, you would click on the link, and if I am not connected to the JSarge computer, normally I would see there it is, took a minute. SAS app OA server that takes me to libraries full of data reports. So again, happy to do a separate walkthrough on this feature, but depending on the administrative rights that have been assigned to you, there is an academic plan monitoring library, which isn't connecting right now, but did before. So this was why I grabbed the data in advance. What I did was I went into academic program monitoring and then pulled down a report called enrollment by program, I think, enrollment by program. It is a very lengthy report. As you can see, I've filtered for fall 24, but I'm already in row 103,000. So this has at least 100,000 rows in it, at least 103,000. But what this report provides is a student by student name of program plan enrollment. So because we have Stephanie and Kathy with us, let's look for early childhood development, early childhood education enrolled students. And let's select just early childhood education. Now, knowing that Stephanie and Kathy probably know their students very well, like many department chairs do, this list of names should be currently enrolled students in the fall of 2024 in the early childhood education plan code. And we are seeing here, let's just get a number so we can estimate because of the filters. We have 82 students that SIS thinks is currently enrolled. I'll pause. Stephanie or Kathy, does that number sound even in the ballpark of what you think reality is for fall enrollment?
It does.
So that's the first check, right? Are we even in the ballpark? And if you say, no, that's not even close, then we have a data quality issue. But if you can sort of agree that, yeah, that number sounds about right. If you scroll over, there are a lot of rows, a lot of columns in this table that contain a lot of different bits of information. I showed this stuff to Stephen Soloweski because he wanted to reach out and contact health sciences students to inform them about an option of something or somewhat, I don't remember. But I wanted to show you that email addresses live in this report. So this is a function, this is a report that you could use when you are considering contacting or reaching out to students. But I wanted to show you this column that has total credits. It's listed total credits semester, but clearly I think it's just a total credits earned. I think that's what this is. Now you can do onesie twosie verification in SIS to make sure, but I wanted to show you this because when we talk completion with program health, and I showed you credit completion, I think the combination of connecting credits to completion makes sense to me. I'd be open for criticism or questioning of that, but I wanted to show those of you who are here with me and those of you who will be watching later that there is another row by row report available to see students who are accumulating a lot of credits. And within the program, you could sort them to then say, well, I've got a handful of students who have earned an awful lot of credits. And I wonder if it's worth contacting them to see if they are close to completion or if something's going on and they've changed. But I don't know the full stories, right? And maybe you do. You would be able to sort this and then look at the names and say, oh, I know exactly the story with that student. But the fact that this one student has 127 credits is interesting, right? And that doesn't help you tell your overall completion story. But to me, it does allow you the ability to get a snapshot look at students who are currently enrolled this fall and the credits that they may have accumulated so far at Reynolds. And then if that population could be contacted via email or reached out to via some help with faculty to find out, hey, why haven't you completed? Is there a story? Is there something going on? I'm showing you another source of data that might be helpful or useful in telling a completion story. So that is the set of topics that I wanted to cover today. Wanted to make sure we knew why we were doing this work, where we could go to tell the stories, and then what information would perhaps be useful in telling our story about completion. Because it's just this one prompt in completion. I don't think there is quite as much to go through, but I would welcome questions via chat from Robin or questions from Kathy or Stephanie. I see your hand up.
Could you go back to SAS? Because I have a question.
Spreadsheet, this one?
No, the
The dashboard.
data, the dashboard. Yes.
Yep. All right, let's go back to the dashboard. All right.
Okay.
Yes, go for it.
So when you look at the academic program plan, the filter, can you hit the arrow? I want to see what programs is there to make sure that they align with what I have in Watermark.
Yes, good. So that's a
Okay.
good point, Stephanie, that there may be some misalignment there.
Okay.
Terry and I try to make sure that in Watermark, we are current with what changes or name changes or updates have been made in SIS, which would be reflected in this dashboard. But sometimes we lag. So when you are looking and you are seeing things that are misaligned, please let us know. We can clean that up.
Okay, because I see I have the AAS, which I'm assuming that is early childhood development.
Yeah.
Then I have the early childhood development certificate. Then I have advanced CSC and then CSC, but I'm only seeing 3 here.
Yeah. Yeah. So the dashboard only gives you 3.
Okay.
And I guess we would want to hear from you, Stephanie. Are the 4, those are the correct 4 programs that you're responsible for?
So the career study certificate, they make up the certificate. So I could use I guess the data from both of those to put together the program health for the certificate.
Yes, and this is where,
Okay.
Stephanie, I want to make this tool work for you. So
Okay.
if you would rather tell one story for 2 programs, you tell us how you would like to do that. I don't want, Jesse Miller and I have had these conversations too. I don't want you trying to think of 4 different stories to tell for 4 different programs if you're basically saying, look, Tim, these roll up into one, so I'm going to tell you the one story about how they roll up. In the story, I'm going to say these 2 CSCs are rolling up, and I want you to tell what you would like to tell, and we'll figure out how to make the tool work.
Yeah, we can do.
Okay.
Childhood development.
Yeah.
And then.
Yeah, we could just do one and put things under it, or we could keep them. Some people have said, I like to keep them apart because the stories are slightly different. Other people have said, I want them put together because I just want to tell one story. So I want Watermark to work for you rather than you figuring out how to tell a story in Watermark.
Okay. I'll let you know.
Yes, please, just send me, and we can have a follow-up conversation, Stephanie, too, when you're ready to think about it. You and Terry and I sit down and we can craft Watermark so that it makes sense for you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
That's a good question. Thanks for asking that. Kathy, anything from you? Did you see anything new or different that you are?
Yeah, you know, we just started that AS in education. And
Right.
some of my students switched over and some of them didn't. And
Yeah.
so what I see is one graduate
Yeah.
because yeah, she had started already and then she switched over. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'll figure it out.
Cases like that, Kathy, I think it's totally legit just to say, this is really the first time that we've set the program up in this way. So our story on completion is gonna be very light. It's just somebody's completed, but we anticipate or we expect, and this could be too, Kathy, where you put out, you know, for your future legacy, the person who's gonna pick it up, to say, I would anticipate that we should be getting about 5 to 10 students out per year. Or I would expect that when the program has gone through its couple of years, we should be seeing 12 to 20 students. So again, I think you can sort of set the expectations here to say this
Okay.
year, I don't have a story to tell this year because we don't have a history, but what I would expect to see in the future is X, Y, Z.
Can you pull up that spreadsheet again and show us how to get to that?
Yeah, I thought you might get a kick out of that. So this is called a SAS plugin report. So you have to start at the very top. If you have, when you open your college version of Excel, thanks Terry, you should see a little SAS tab, I forget what they call these, banner, ribbon. You should see a
Yeah,
SAS
ribbon.
ribbon option on the top of your, and I hide mine when I, oops. Oh, are you kidding? No, there it goes. Shoot. For a second, my Excel.
So when I just pull up a blank worksheet,
Yep,
okay, and then I have a SAS.
you should see it. Actually, let me have you.
I don't think I have it.
All right, I was gonna say, I could enable you to share your screen and we can see it
Yeah, then
together.
you just have to have me.
If you don't have it, you need to submit a ticket to IR and say you would like the SAS plugin on your college Excel, because he has to go in and
Do something.
do some tweaks.
Okay, I'm gonna share this. Is this what I'm supposed to be looking at?
Let's see. Oh, there it is. It's on the far right.
Okay. Oh, add in right here.
No, no,
Right
wait.
next to Acrobat.
Yeah, come to your left a little bit, at the very, just above that ribbon.
Above it. Oh, right here.
There, click on that. Let's try it together. Are you at school or are you at home?
I'm downtown.
All right, so now go over to data. Now that the SAS ribbon is up, bring your mouse down a little bit and go to the left and click on, right next to the picture of the house that says home, click on this, the tab that says
Data.
Yep. Then, good, that's good, good. All right, so I see that you've already used class status in the past. At the very top of this pop-up window, see the word browse? I want you to
Yep.
click browse. Now we're gonna see what libraries you have. Okay, so the server shows up correctly. Click SAS app OA, double click that.
This one?
That's you saying, all right, I want SAS to connect. Now, you should get a little folder that says libraries. Yep,
Libraries.
on libraries. And this will be recorded, so you can watch this again if you don't remember. All right, then this is good. You're seeing a lot of options. And I hope Stephanie will see these too when she walks through it. And Robin should see this too. This is good. But go to the very top library called Academic Plan Monitoring and double click that. Excellent. Now, and you can see they're sort of truncated a little bit, but that's okay. All right, glad you're back, Robin. We're walking through the plugin. So I showed you, see that fourth one down called enrollment by program. If you double click that, it takes us back to our open pop-up window. And see now on the top, it says you were in the academic plan monitoring enrollment by program. Now below that, you can say number of records to view in the worksheet. I selected all because I wanted all of the data to come in. I didn't, the subset button, if it's a big report, will just pull in a little bit so you can see what's in there. But you want to see it all. And then yes, let's just put it in the existing worksheet and click OK. Now this will take a minute because it's a big, like we saw, right? There's 100-some thousand rows in here. So it'll take a minute to download. It takes even longer. Like Steven Soloweski and I were trying this, and he was at home on VPN,
Mm.
do all these steps. But when we clicked download, we sort of waited for like maybe 2 or 3 minutes before it came onto the machine. Yours is taking a little bit longer than I would expect it to.
I shouldn't have that many students because it's the new program.
Well, no, remember, we're grabbing everything. We haven't filtered it yet. So
Oh.
we're pulling the entire report that goes all the way back to like fall 19, fall 18, something like that. So I will show you how to filter just for the program when it comes up, but it's running and it's just taking longer than I would like it to take.
Oh, there we go.
But it's a big program. It's a big report.
Yes, 19.
So see in column B, there's a little arrow and the drop down next to semester description. So that's where I like to start. And before you go to any other column, go over to column B and click
B
B and click the
or
little,
D?
yeah, sorry, B is in boy. And,
Okay.
and click the little drop down arrow and then deselect all, next to select all, click that little checkbox. Yep,
Uncheck it.
uncheck it. And then scroll down to the bottom and check fall 24. Yes.
24, like right now, or 23?
No, let's just do 20. Well, you tell me. Do you want to see last fall or do you want to see this fall?
Let's do this one.
All right, and then click OK. So this takes a second, and then what it does is it filters. So see, we jump down to row 103. Now go over to column H, as in Harry. And in the little drop down, oops, scroll, it's a little jumpy because it's such a big file. But in column H, select so this is where instead of scrolling, see how it says search right above select all?
Yeah.
Put your cursor in search and then type the word early. Or what are we looking for? Education. What do you want to look at? You want to look at your ed students? All right, so there's your AS. So let's deselect early and elementary.
So I think if I do this one, it will give me all of the majors.
Yeah, let's try it. And then say, okay. And we can go back and adjust this filter anytime we want. Oh, it didn't give us very many. Is that okay? Did you think you were going to get more than that?
So, yeah, I did.
All right, so let's go
Okay,
back.
so I think this is what happened.
Yeah.
When we first started with 625,
Right,
SIS didn't, we didn't know how to separate the majors.
yeah.
So people that didn't declare a major, this is them, which is good because now I know I need to contact these people
Yeah, there's a good way to look at it.
and make sure they declare a major.
So there are other ways. So this is the power of this spreadsheet, that you can filter in a lot of different ways. You can go back in time, right? So we just chose the current semester. Remember, in column B as in boy, we just said, just show me the currently enrolled students in fall 24. So you can filter for whatever term you want. Then let's go back into H and let's just say, we'll stay in the fall, we'll stay current, but let's expand our searches in column.
Do I need to go back to B and start over?
No, because we've already said we want to stay current.
Okay, so I can just change H.
Yeah, but now let's just change H and expand what we want to look at in column H in terms of programs. So you can leave Education AS if you want, or we can just select others. So yeah, do your little drop down arrow right there. That's your filter arrow. Then now let's look for what do we want to search for? Education again. You can search rather than you can scroll if you want, but I just think that search feature at the top is so much quicker. If you type in any word that is part of your program, it will come up. You know what I'm saying, Kathy? So,
Yeah. So I can do like elementary ed.
Yeah.
And let's see if the others are on here.
Can we do by plan code as well if she?
And if you know the plan code number, you can search that way too. I don't know the
Okay.
plan code
No, it
numbers.
should be in G. Is
Yeah.
academic.
No, I
plan
mean,
code.
but there's no accompanying, like G would just
No,
have the
but I would
numbers.
think it would be 625 and
And
then
then
extra
hyphen and
numbers.
whatever.
I
We can
would
look.
think.
All right, so this returned a bigger list.
Yeah, so now I have the ones that don't have a major, and then I have elementary ed as well.
Yeah.
Okay,
So, and again, so that's a much more robust number, it looks like. Here's how you can tell. Here's a little Excel trick if you want to learn. Just grab any one of the columns at the bottom. Let's go to the bottom of that list again. Scroll down. And then put your cursor in the last education AS one in that, and then click and drag up. And then drag up to the top. Yeah, just go all the way up to the top. And it'll catch up. Yeah, keep going, you got it. Go all the way to the top of the list.
kind of jumpy.
Yeah, it's a little jumpy. And then when it gets to the top, it'll just stop scrolling. So keep going. You got it. And you can tell how much more you have to go by glancing at that scroll bar on the right. So you still have some more to go. All right, almost there. All right, and then put it down and let go just below the title.
Okay, I think I'm there.
Yep, and then let go of your mouse clicker. And then move your eyeballs to the lower right part of that open screen. And it says,
Lower right?
yeah, it would
Count
come a little bit to the left of there. Next to display settings, there's a number that says count 56, if I'm reading it right.
Right here, 56.
You just highlighted 56 records. So that's why when we were looking at Stephanie's early childhood earlier, I scrolled really quickly and then looked at the count and it said 82. And that's where I came up with the number to ask Stephanie. So you just
Okay.
counted really quickly 56 rows. So that should be the number of students, ballpark, that are currently enrolled this fall in either the education AS or the elementary ed major.
Okay.
And then if you want to see who they actually are, right, the names are on the left and their emails are on the right. So then you just scroll one way or the other.
Yeah, I was curious about the number of credits.
Yeah. Yeah. So now let's sort the number of credits column. Go into the little drop-down arrow in column W. And at the very top of this drop-down, sort largest to smallest. Yeah, and click on that. All right, so now we still have our 56, but you've sorted them, organized them with the more credits at the top. So then that would be an opportunity to reach out to the first few and say, or maybe to investigate and say.
Well, it's right here. She's in 2 different programs.
There it is.
I see the ASL English interpreting.
Well, wait, those might be those are 2 different people though. Oh, no, I see what you're saying. You're looking at column S. I got it.
Yeah, so she's got 2 degrees.
Got it. So that makes sense, right? There's your quick answer. Oh, that's obvious to you then. So that's exactly how you would begin to investigate this. But I wanted you to see another source of data. This is again, we went into SAS, we went into data, we pulled up the libraries that you have available, and we went into academic program monitoring and found a report called enrollment by program. So you can see at a glance, granted it takes a little time to filter in spreadsheets, but another way to see row by row enrollment is helpful. So that's our goal for today, unless Robin, you had any other chat questions, or Stephanie, there was anything else. I'm glad to follow up and spend time with you on this. This one was pretty basic because it's just the one story about completion. Our next one about faculty, staffing and evaluations and sort of stuff will be a little more interesting. And actually, I'm excited for that because we now have the ability to connect course evaluations directly into the system, right? Did we learn that, Terry? There's a connection between planning and self-study and course evaluations, so that we can bring summary reports in, I think.
Yeah, similarly to when you're looking at assessment.
Right,
And you're pulling
over,
in your
that's
data
right.
from Canvas.
Yep, same ideas. So We will,
We haven't tried it out
we
yet.
haven't tried that, so we'll walk through that together. But thank you all. I'm so glad you came to listen to this, and I think we've got a good recording for others to watch.